Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Minecraft Desync. That's the exciting. When we last left off, started making yet another tunnel. And we're just going to keep making the tunnel. I think right here, we're going to do something a little silly. We're going to make another turn. That is the first step of my long, drawn-out, and insane process here. Because why not? I think it would... I mean, we got a lot of... we got two sets of straight corridors, so let's add another curve for no reason other than dwarves willed it. By Jove, the dwarf said, we go this way now. And I think, you know what? Yeah, I agree. We're just going to make a tunnel. There's going to be no rhyme or reason for when I turn these things, or if I turn around. We're just going to dig. Oh, right. Duh. Brother, help. No rhyme, no reason, just tunnel. If you get lost, you get lost. It's also a good way to not only get, I mean, not really good way, but it is a way to get such materials that we need. Now, we're just going to head this way for no reason. Because I feel like it. 2, 3, 4, 5. And maybe we'll build some houses. You know what? I know what we can do. am.marazi. I know what we can do. So I have this. It was a document, a partially made document of Johannia. If I type in white out, I should get... yes, military history. That's right, I did do some of that. And continue on the Johannia dump, because I at least know some of this. As I did write it. Five. Because I don't quite remember what we ended up on. I think we ended up where the Great Depression was for Johannia. I think. I don't remember. But we start our grand Johannian tale on January 2nd, 1940. He executes a man live on television. In all its black and white detail. Because what better way to declare war on Britain than executing one of their officers that you captured? It would absolutely get my attention. They literally declared war and then shot one of our skirmishers in their own parliament. These boys mean business. So the first big operation is really less of an operation and more of a general assault across all fronts and see what breaks first. As a nation in the center of Africa, you are surrounded 360 degrees by Britain. It does not matter where you go, you will likely find a British soldier. These are not the most thought of names. They were just kind of stuff I thought sounded like, yeah, that sounds about right for something of a crusader-ish state descended from. So Breakout, which is just the general pummeling of Britain's front lines. And all of them give way, essentially. For the British troop garrison, even if I jack them up to an absurd degree, Britain would have basically needed a standing army in Africa at all times against Johannia, and that's not in the cards for their peacetime forces. By jacking up their peacetime forces, I threw at least 50,000 that kind of surrounded them, but it basically is like a delaying action against 150 to 200,000. It's a 4-to-1 ratio. It's not ideal. So it started with essentially armored trains, because Britain did link up their rail network to the Ohanian network, if only to get access to their Ugandan province. I basically built it on top of the original railway that the British originally made in our timeline, so... And considering they're surrounded, it's just a lot easier to use British gauge rail. So you can only guess how well that worked. All of a sudden, my armored trains can work pretty well on your own rails that you have so generously built. Some of them didn't go that far. I know Sudan, basically the easiest thing to say is it just ran through Kenya and Uganda very easily. So, we're going to go with the northern front, which some doesn't have as much to go off of, but first operation was essentially black powder, which was the more apt name for trying to go around the Sud and ram through Belgian Congo. It also dealt with the appearance of just Belgian soldiers, as by this point, the Belgian... As far as I'm aware, the Belgian forces relocated to the Congo, as far as I recall. But once that kind of is dealt with, they kind of get dragged into the jungle. So I didn't really make any operations that directly relate to the Congo, because it wasn't really the biggest theater that I thought to put the most work into. But next operation we got is Point Break, which is the Nile River capture at Khartoum. so that basically it confirmed that the Italian Blue Nile and now the British White Nile are now in control of one piece. Oh. Basically, the Axis controls the upper Nile. And there was a hard-fought battle. It sort of bogged down. Italian troops kind of helped the Ohanians, but the colonial garrison for Italy basically had to be their colonial garrison for East Africa. They were kind of busy. But it does mean that Italian East Africa just kind of gets to chill for once. Then we got Operation Moses, which is basically getting to the Red Sea. Operation Moses. Moses parts the Red Sea. And that one's really just an armored push to follow the British rails back to the Red Sea. Makes it a little easier. Not really easier, I would say. Maybe it does put pressure in that region in the same way that you kind of put a lot of aggressive punishment. Ooh, hello. But Operation Moses kind of focused there. Good spearhead thrust, and because this is still, like, there's hardly any British troops to really resist. I mean, yeah, Britain is sending them, but they got their hands full everywhere else. Rommel's running rampant through North Africa. British Lemuria is in chaos. Australia and New Zealand actually have their own threats to worry about. In the Freestater, Britain really doesn't have the means that they'd like to send towards the center of Africa. Could they do Raj troops? Probably. But again, then you run into the issue of the Raj troops. I fucked this up. Since this opens up into a cave, we're going to actually leave this as is. I was originally going to do something different, but it seems that this cave is giving me a different plan. Which is fine. So then we have Operation Golden Dust, which is in 1942. They finally got all the way through the Sudan and made it all the way to Aswan. Which, if you recall one of my the time-lapse episode, I think it was for I don't remember which one, but it was a time-lapse episode for one of them very recently where I had my weird AI music stuff playing, which dealt with the Battle of Aswan Dam. There. here. Yeah, drop off some stuff because we are full. So once they get to Oswan, there are 3 huge battles, because this is where the Atlantean troops can finally kind of come in to play, because they joined the theater in shit. They joined the theater in like 1941. So they take about a year to actually get into the fray, and there's Atlantis is still technically dealing with German bombing raids, because we figured out that there is at least we think. We did the math several times over, and none of us could truly agree on if they could or not, but we kind of just went with the assumption that they could, and the transport planes could technically reach out that far and just touch the islands. So we had them do that, because what better way to horrify a not beleaguered, but just a foe who does not respect you, than to just bomb their main island, the bombings of Doxa and the rest of their stuff. So Atlantis has arrived with 150,000 people, and immediately things go horribly wrong for them. They are a little less familiar with empire building, is how I described it. At least that's why how I kind of envisioned this lack of knowledge of interior empires, as Atlantis is a sea-based empire, more akin to a Thalasocracy. I think? I'm having a stroke. Somebody help. That stairway. Actually, let's take those. Pick another pick. So it's like basically all Atlantis ever has to do is get to the port, and they don't have to travel too far inland for their control to be relatively effective. But when you have to start traveling hundreds of thousands of miles, yeah, they understand logistics. They're industrialized like everyone else. But it's the scale, and the British, like, the gauge of rail is like not sufficient at all for Egypt and the throughput required. And so, even with all these problems, it's still not looking good for Johanna, and they decide to be a sore loser and blow the dam. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say sore? I meant becoming a demon. They really didn't have a big care what happened to the enemy troops. They needed to win at any cost to survive, so they blew the dam. And allowed Johanna to win the second battle of Aswan. The third battle, they came in yet again, and they're basically, Johanna's troops were basically stretched way too far. They're basically traveling thousands of miles, so any resupply has to travel super far through very underdeveloped Africa infrastructure. It really just turns into a big headache. Alright, so you know what? This has turned into a lava side dead end. So we're going to just dead end it here. Five dwarves died in this lava cave. Yeah. And that really kind of concludes the northern front. The battles of Aswan. And then we have the southern front. You may be wondering what happened next, but really it's just kind of boils down to bait and switch. So they basically kind of just slowly wind down their forces in the north and basically just kind of keep trying to create pockets and kill them. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. What? 3, 4, 5. Mine rerouted. Let a good dwarf stop mining. We'll do this. Open this up a little bit. And yeah, I think that sort of rambling we'll have to do. 4, 5. And we're just gonna have to. Ooh. No, 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 no. I want to keep the lava. But in any case, I hope you all enjoyed watching, and we will see you all in the next episode of Minecraft Desync. Not Saturday edition. Bye-bye!